Hey guys, I'm Hellhound, and welcome to my Midnight Spook Show here on the Horror and Metal channel. The last review I did, the last video I made was a review of the Monster Squad, which is an 80s take on the classic Universal monsters. And how appropriate, because today we're going to talk some more about the Universal monsters. That's right, there's a tag video created by Sean Erschen, who has tagged me to answer some questions about the Universal monsters and Universal horror in general. So we're not really just limited to Frankenstein, Dracula, and all that. We can also include like stuff like Psycho and Jaws as well. Some that are slightly more recent. So pretty cool. So it's a wide variety there. They're probably going to talk mostly about the old like black and white, the classic monsters. Mostly, because it's, when I think of Universal monsters, that's what I think of. I watched those movies constantly growing up on VHS. I loved them. I fell in love with those movies. I saw them on TV all the time. They was kind of my introduction to horror, actually. Before I was into Jason and Freddy, I watched all the Frankenstein movies, So I kind of started out as a fledgling horror fan watching the Universal monsters. So yeah, that's right. Check out Sean Erschen's original video. Check out his channel. Check out my review of Monster Squad. And remember, Wolfman's got nards. Alright, so let's go and begin. Universal monsters. Oh yeah, gotta love them. Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy, the Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon. Oh yeah. Yeah, I used to have all these movies on VHS. I had every single one of them. They released in that special set that came. Well, they're all individual, but it was like a special release. Like they re-released them on VHS, and I had all of them. That was my original VHS collection that got destroyed when my mom's basement flooded several years ago. This is my newer VHS collection, in which I replaced most of the movies I used to have. Yeah, always been a huge fan of Universal monsters, and of course the Abbott Costello, their take on it, which is pretty hilarious. Yeah, just can't go wrong with these guys. They're awesome, Lots of great memories. I highly recommend you check them out, all these movies. But anyway, let's go and get on to the questions. Alright. Question number 1. If you're the Invisible Man or the Invisible Woman, how would you use your power? So if you could turn invisible, nobody could see you, what would you do? Well, of course I'd go to the women's shower room. I mean, hello, obviously. No, just kidding. Just kidding, no. I'd use my powers for good. I'd be a superhero, like Sean Erschen said. I'd go fight crime. I'd stop scumbags from, committing crimes against humanity. I'd go and I'd punch them. They wouldn't be able to see me, so they didn't know where I'd come from. I'd knock them out. I'd just start punching them. Somebody's robbing a store. I sneak up behind them, grab around the throat, and just knock them into the wall. Stuff like that. Somebody's holds a gun on somebody, I go take their gun. They see a gun floating in the air, they're gonna be scared shitless and run away. I'd do stuff like that. So I basically use my powers for good. I'd be like a hero. I've always wanted to be a superhero. And if I could turn invisible, I think that'd be an excellent superpower for sure. Just like the Invisible Woman from Fantastic Four. I think that'd be an awesome thing to do. That's one of the main powers, like one of the top 5 powers that I'd want. The special abilities I'd want. If I had superpowers, invisibility is one of the ones I'd pick, and I'd definitely use them for the good of mankind. Punish criminals. That's what I'd do. Okay, question number 2. Who's your favorite Universal monster? That's hard. Now, Dracula and Imhotep are like the most evil. They're pure evil. They're purely malevolent. They both have kind of a romance thing going on too. But mostly they're pure evil. It's like Michael Myers and Freddy Krueger in the modern age. Then there's the Wolfman, who when he's a human, he's a total good guy. He's very likable. He's very, he's a normal person, but he can't control what happens during a full moon. He turns into a beast and ends up slaughtering people against his own will. He's reluctant, so he's kind of a sympathetic character. Then we have Frankenstein and the Karis Mummy, who are kind of just, the Karis Mummy's just usually following his master's orders. He's usually just, being controlled by some other evil person and just carrying out, their deeds. He doesn't really know what he's doing. And Frankenstein's kind of like a child in a man's body. He doesn't really know, what he's doing. He has a mind of as I said, a child, and you kind of feel for him. I think I'm going to go overall with Frankenstein, because those were my favorites growing up. When I was a kid, I had all the Frankenstein movies. I watched them constantly. He has the best series out of them all, because really, the Wolfman just has, his own movie, and then all the rest of them are crossovers. Dracula, he was only in the first movie. Then there's Dracula's daughter and Son of Dracula, where he wasn't in it, unless you count Lon Chaney Jr. as Alucard and Son of Dracula. And then he showed up again in crossovers. So Frankenstein's the only one that had like a lot of movies just with him. The Mummy did too. The Imhotep in the first movie and Karis in the sequels. but you know, it's not as consistent, you know, for sure. It's not even the same Mummy. You know, Imhotep again. It was Imhotep, then it was Karis, and the other rest of the series. So I'm gonna go with Frankenstein. I think that was the most consistent, and I think Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein are like two of the best Universal monster movies ever made. I think they're both excellent, fantastic. All right, question number 3. If you Lawrence Talbot, aka the Wolfman, played by Lon Chaney Jr., asked you to keep watch over him and shoot him with a silver bullet if he changed, would you do it? No, I'd ask him to make me into a werewolf. I'd be like, bite me, make me into a werewolf, then you can do whatever you want. I don't think I'd have it in me to kill somebody, you know, even if they were a werewolf, if they wasn't going to prevent the murder of other people. I'd just say, why don't you just lock yourself up at night? Get a cage or chain yourself up or something. Just find a way to lock yourself up, and you won't harm anybody. You know, just turn into a werewolf, just be like, you won't, you won't escape, you know, it'll keep you from harming innocents and from hurting yourself as well. Just lock yourself up. You don't need to kill yourself, you know. I mean, I guess he feels guilty for some of the other murders, but just go find, be like a superhero, again, like the Invisible Man thing, and just go find some criminals, and or during a full moon, just go launch your target some, you know, find a drug ring or like an underground crime syndicate with like a bunch of mob bosses, really evil people, and just go there and turn into a werewolf and brutally kill them all, you know, be like a superhero or a vigilante, I guess. Yeah, I don't think I'd have it in me to be able to shoot him. He's such a nice guy, you know, even if he does grow hair and fangs and claws and eat people at night. All right, question number 4. Who would win in a fight, Dracula or Frankenstein's monster? Oh, that's been a debate that's raged on for several decades. I think Frankenstein's monster might be stronger, but of course Dracula is more manipulative and cunning. You know, he's got some powers, you know. I don't know, I think Dracula might win. Unless Frankenstein gets close to him, once he gets a hold of him, he'd probably beat him, but I think Dracula would outsmart him kind of behind the scenes. He'd use his cunning to defeat Frankenstein's monster. By the way, I think Frankenstein's monster, his series is mostly like the Jason series. It was like the classic Jason, the Friday the 13th series is like a modern Frankenstein franchise to me. So that's another reason why he's my favorite, because, you know, he's very akin to Jason, you know, like a classic version of Jason, sort of. All right, question number 5. Do you think if Norman Bates existed, ooh, interesting, could he be rehabilitated through therapy? Probably. I mean, the second movie, you know, Psycho 2, he was mostly rehabilitated just through the meddling of, you know, Lila Loomis or Lila Crane, her character, Marion Crane's sister. You know, her daughter's meddling, trying to make him crazy again, which set him off, and then of course his homicidal aunt, claiming to be his mother, shows up at the end. So all kinds of things were happening against him. I think he was probably going to be normal. I think maybe he had a chance until they came and messed everything up, you know. But yeah, you know, there's plenty of insane people who have schizophrenia. You know, he could have got on medication or something, or I think they probably could have saved his mind. You know, he was pretty far gone towards the end of the first movie. You know, he thought that he was his mother. He truly believed that he was her. He was, you know, only Norma existed. Norman no longer existed. But Anthony Perkins did such a great job. But I think there was hope for him still, you know. All right, anyway, question number 6. What is your favorite Universal horror film? Okay, just counting, like, the classic monsters, you know. Again, not counting Jaws or anything like that, or even some of the more recent ones, like Halloween's technically a Universal horror movie, like Sean Erschen pointed out. But just counting the classic monsters, probably either Bride of Frankenstein or the first Frankenstein. I think I actually like the sequel a little better. Probably could go Bride of Frankenstein. I really like Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman as well, and House of Frankenstein. That's a great movie. And the original Dracula. Guys, they're all so good. But I think if I had to narrow it down to one, probably Bride of Frankenstein. That was always my favorite growing up. I think that was the one I watched the most. I just wish that the Bride of Frankenstein character herself had been in it more. But, you know, still a great movie. Excellent. Probably even better than the original, I'd say. All right, question number 7. If Jaws was released today, would it still have the same effect? I would hope so, but, you know, I'd like to believe it would. But if it was released today, it'd probably be a CGI shark. And not that the shark looked all that real in the original Jaws. It was kind of fake looking, but usually they mostly use POV shots. The camera kind of was the shark. You know, they didn't see a lot of the shark until the very end. You know, they didn't show a lot of the sharks. It made it a lot scarier, more suspenseful. But I'd really like to see a shark movie where you see a lot of the shark, but it's not CGI and it looks more real. I don't know what they'd use. Use a real shark as much as possible. In the original Jaws, there were a couple scenes where they did use a real shark, and it looked great because it was real, obviously. But yeah, I think it was, you know, this released today and made just about the same way. That, you know, they kind of modernized it a little bit, I bet. Hopefully it wouldn't be CGI, and hopefully it wouldn't be like too over the top with gore and stuff. Because I think it's perfect the way it is. But yeah, I'd like to think it would have some of the same impact, you know. but, you know, who knows. Question number 8. What is the best version of The Mummy? The Boris Karloff version, the Brendan Fraser remake, or the Tom Cruise remake? Definitely not the Tom Cruise version. That was awful. The Dark Universe, as they call it, they were trying to redo all the classic monsters, which is a good idea. It's off to a bad start. I think they should start over, because that movie, I didn't like it. I couldn't even finish it. Well, I noticed that the Hammer version with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing isn't in the question, so with that one being excluded, excluding that one, I'd say the original The Mummy from 1932 with Boris Karloff. Yeah, Imhotep was an awesome character. He was pure evil, just like Dracula, but he had his intentions were, you know, he wanted to resurrect his dead girlfriends, you know, so it was kind of a remote romantic thing too. You kind of felt a little sympathy for him, but he was mostly a very malevolent character. So, yeah, probably that one. The Brendan Fraser one's pretty good too. I always liked it. You know, I remember seeing it in the theaters and thought it was really good. It was more of an action adventure, like Indiana Jones type of film than like a horror movie though. So, you know, when it comes to horror, I'd definitely say the original Mummy. You know, Imhotep or Karas, they're both awesome. And people want to see a movie with both of them. That's what they should have done. Instead of the Tom Cruise movie, they should have made a movie with Imhotep. How about Imhotep's like, you know, the evil overlord? He controls Karas, who's like a more typical, you know, bandaged mummy who, you know, slowly walks and, you know, kind of limps, you know, around and strangles his victims. Where Boris Karloff, I wish, where Imhotep's like the, you know, the controller. He's the mastermind. You know, that'd be awesome, but it'd probably never happen. But yeah, I'll go with the original. But I like the Brendan Fraser movie too, the Steven Sommers film from 1999. It's a good movie. All right, question number 9. What is the most underrated Universal horror film? Oh man, that's a tough one. There's a lot of good ones. You know, maybe Werewolves of London. You know, that's actually included in this Wolfman DVD set. Yeah, Werewolf of London from 1935. That actually predates the Wolfman. It came out before. The makeup effects weren't quite as good. The werewolf didn't look quite as good. It was a lot different, but I think it was a pretty good movie. Maybe not really underrated. I think, you know, the horror community, people who like the Universal movies probably know a lot about it, I'm sure. And I'm sure they all know about it. But I think that was a pretty good werewolf movie. You know, I don't know. I can't really think of any. I mean, one might come to mind later after I've done filming this video, probably. Off the top of my head, Werewolf of London, I guess. Okay, the final question. Question number 10. Who's the better Dracula, Bela Lugosi or Christopher Lee? I can't answer that. That's way too hard. They both played him so differently. Now, Christopher Lee played him way more than Bela Lugosi. Bela Lugosi played Dracula twice. They played a Dracula-like character in the movie Return of the Vampire, which is really good. But he really only played Dracula, the Dracula character, twice. And in the original Dracula from 1931, and then Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, which he played Dracula in that too. Which, you know, I wish he would have played him in House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula. Those movies would have been so much better with Bela Lugosi. But then Christopher Lee's played Dracula so many times, like what, 7 or 8 times? Well, not just in the Hammer series, but in other movies as well, like Dracula and Son and Count Dracula from 1970. It was actually very faithful to Bram Stoker's book, so I feel like Christopher Lee's had more time with the character, and he played so many different versions of Dracula. He played him as an evil, demonic leech on 2 legs who was just a blood-sucking monster. Then he played the suave, more charismatic, more debonair, cunning, intellectual Dracula, who could be like a gentleman. So we got the best of both worlds with him. But Bela Lugosi was so iconic, you know, and that image of him with his eyes, like, it's just so, like, well-known. He's responsible for the Dracula we know today. Every Dracula that's seen in every movie is somewhat inspired by Bela Lugosi's version. So I'll say Bela Lugosi's more influential, more iconic, but Christopher Lee was more diverse. He was able to play him a lot more. If Bela Lugosi had the chance to play him more, you know, maybe he would be in that category too. But again, it's kind of a tie, but they're both good in different ways. So it's really hard to narrow it down to one. I'll give the edge to Lee for now because he played the character a lot more. But Bela Lugosi was just, when I think of Dracula, I kind of more think of Bela Lugosi. You know, he created the accent that Dracula usually has. All the tropes, all the, you know, cliches and everything associated with Dracula came from Lugosi. So you got to respect that. But they're both amazing, so it's really hard to choose. All right, guys. Well, this is a great video, great idea. Kudos to Sean Erschen. Again, check out his video, check out his channel. He's got a lot of great content. He's a great YouTuber. One of my favorites. One of my favorite people on YouTube for sure. It was a great tag video. He also did the Hammer horror tag as well, so check that one out too. I was really hoping he'd make a Universal one when we did that one a few weeks ago. And he finally did, and boy did it deliver. Great questions. Really made you think. Really made me think a lot on these questions. Some of them were kind of difficult. Really made me, really made me use my brain. So, all right, long live the Universal monster movies. Without them, we probably would have had some of the great modern horror movies of today. And so, their impact, their legacy will live on forever and ever and ever. And I really wish they would make a proper dark universe with, all the monsters in a shared universe like they're doing, with the MCU and the DCEU and then all that stuff. I wish they'd do one with the Universal monsters and do it properly, not like the Tom Cruise Mummy movie. But anyway, guys, I'm Hellhound. Thank you for watching. Keep it horror.